For 4,500 years, one question has refused to die. Who really built the Great Pyramid of Giza? We were all told the same story in school. Thousands of workers using simple copper tools built it over decades. Just hard labor. Nothing special. But the deeper you dig, the more that explanation collapses. Because what if the real story isn't just incomplete? What if it's completely wrong? What if the Great Pyramid was built using knowledge far beyond what historians admit? What if the Egyptians inherited advanced technologies from a forgotten civilization? And what if the real builders left behind clues hidden in plain sight? Today, we follow those clues. What you're about to hear will change how you look at ancient Egypt forever. This is the real story of the Great Pyramid, and what historians never told us. The Great Impossible. Before we talk about who built it, look at what they built. To understand the mystery, we must begin with the structure itself, because the pyramid is the first thing that tells you the official story is wrong. The Great Pyramid contains 2.3 million stone blocks, weighing between 2 and 30 tons. Some, especially the granite beams inside, weigh up to 70 to 80 tons. That's more than a bus, a train engine, a fully loaded truck. Yet these stones were moved hundreds of kilometers, lifted dozens of meters into the air, and placed so precisely that even today, with lasers and modern machines, engineers struggle to replicate it. The base of the pyramid is so perfectly leveled that if you lifted one corner by a single inch, the entire structure becomes mathematically wrong. Imagine the precision. 4 sides, each originally 230 meters long, all aligned with true north to within 3/60 of a degree. You could not do that accidentally. You could not do that with trial and error. You could not do that with just copper tools. And here's the first red flag. No other pyramid ever built after this came close. The Great Pyramid is the earliest of the major pyramids, and yet it is the most advanced. That defies logic. In normal engineering, early attempts are crude. Later ones improve. But in Egypt, the pattern is reversed. The oldest pyramid is the most perfect. This is not the sign of a civilization learning how to build. This is the sign of a civilization that started with advanced knowledge they later lost. So the question becomes, where did they get it? The workers they never told you about. If slaves didn't build it, then who did? For decades we were told, slaves built the pyramids. Hollywood told us this, school repeated it, textbooks printed it. But archaeologists uncovered evidence that destroys that belief. In the 1990s, near the Giza Plateau, researchers discovered a massive workers' settlement. Bakeries, kitchens, sleeping quarters. Inside were high-quality bread ovens, medical tools healed bone fractures, organized labor groups' names of worker teams painted on stones. These weren't slaves. These were trained, respected craftsmen, engineers, and specialists. In fact, injured workers received medical treatment, even complex procedures like amputations. Slaves don't get that. Skilled workers do. The graffiti on the stones is even more revealing. Names like the Friends of Khufu and the Drunkards of Menkora. This was not forced labor. This was a proud workforce. But here's where the mystery deepens. Archaeologists estimated only about 20,000 to 30,000 workers built the Great Pyramid, far fewer than the 100,000 slaves myth. This number is too small to haul 2.3 million stones in 20 years using primitive tools. Even if they placed one block every 2 minutes, 24 hours a day for 20 years straight, the math still stretches belief. So something is missing. Either they had techniques we do not understand, or the timeline is wrong, or the builders were part of a more advanced system than textbooks admit. And that system is revealed in the next discovery. The secret papyrus that changed everything. A 4,000-year-old diary solved a mystery and opened a bigger one. In 2013, inside a cave at Wadi al-Jarf on the Red Sea, archaeologists discovered the oldest papyri in Egypt. These scrolls were written by a high-ranking overseer named Mera, and in his diary he described something historians didn't expect: a sophisticated transportation network. He detailed how limestone was quarried at Tura, how it was moved by boat, how canals were built specifically to reach Giza. This alone proved something astonishing. The Egyptians redirected the Nile to bring stones directly to the pyramid. Think about that. They didn't drag millions of blocks across sand. They engineered water channels to float them. But Mera's diary revealed an even more shocking detail. The limestone was delivered to a place called the Horizon of Khufu, which researchers believe was a giant harbor beside the pyramid. This implies something incredible. The Giza Plateau wasn't a desert when the pyramid was built. It was a massive construction port, a busy center of engineering, logistics, and planning. Egyptologists suddenly had to admit the pyramid was not built with raw manpower, but with incredible organization, hydraulic engineering, and advanced logistics. Still, this did not explain everything. Floating blocks on boats explains transport, but not cutting, shaping, and assembling them with such accuracy. For that, we must look inside the pyramid. The engineering that should not exist. If copper tools built this, then explain the cuts. Inside the Great Pyramid lies the biggest secret of all. The internal structures, the ascending passage, the grand gallery, the king's chamber, are crafted with astonishing precision. The granite beams above the king's chamber weigh 70 to 80 tons each. They were transported from Aswan, nearly 900 kilometers south. This alone is a miracle. But the bigger mystery is how they were cut. Egyptologists insist the Egyptians used copper chisels, dolerite pounding stones, sand, but granite is significantly harder than copper. Copper tools would simply bend. Yet in the king's chamber, we find granite blocks with cuts and surfaces so smooth that modern engineers compare them to machine tools. Some blocks show signs of rapid drilling, deep circular boring, perfectly straight saw marks. Engineer Christopher Dunn studied the tool marks and found something unexpected. The spiral drill marks show a level of pressure and speed far beyond hand tools. He hypothesized the ancient builders may have used lost mechanical techniques, possibly even primitive lathes or saws powered by manpower or water. But here's the detail historians never emphasize. No other pyramid after Khufu's shows this level of precision and engineering skill. The pyramid builders did not improve over time. They declined. It's as if a group of master engineers worked on the Great Pyramid, and their knowledge was not fully passed down. Or worse, their techniques were forgotten entirely. This leads to the strongest clue yet. Maybe the Egyptians didn't develop these techniques. Maybe they inherited them. The civilization that taught the Egyptians. What if Egypt's greatest knowledge wasn't originally Egyptian? Across ancient Egypt, texts refer to a mysterious group known as the followers of Horus, or the Shemsu-Hor. They appear in the Palermo stone, the pyramid texts, and other ancient records. According to Egyptian tradition, These were the kings and sages who ruled before the first pharaohs, a pre-dynastic civilization with advanced knowledge. This group is described as highly intelligent, skilled in stonework, astronomically knowledgeable builders of sacred sites, masters of geometry. And here's where archaeology supports the legends. Look at the pattern. Göbekli Tepe, 12,000 years old. Nabta Playa, 7,000 years old. Pre-dynastic Egyptian artifacts, early stonework that surpasses later dynasties. These all suggest a lost civilization existed before Egypt reached its peak. Geologists like Robert Schoch revealed that the Sphinx enclosure shows water erosion, meaning part of it could predate Egyptian dynasties by thousands of years, from a time when heavy rainfall was common. If true, the Sphinx may have been carved long before the pyramids, and adopted by the Egyptians later. This fits the pattern. Egypt inherited more than it invented. They took a location already sacred. They expanded it. They built upon it. And they used knowledge handed down to them. This forgotten group, whoever they were, appears to have been responsible for the earliest and most advanced structures. Later dynasties tried to imitate them, but never matched them, just like losing a technology after a collapse. Which raises the question, if the Egyptians inherited this knowledge, why did historians hide the clues? The inconvenient truths historians avoid. Not all mysteries are solved. Some are simply avoided. It's not that historians are trying to hide the truth. It's that the full truth complicates the simple story taught in schools. Because once you examine the evidence, you end up with uncomfortable questions. 1. Why is the Great Pyramid more advanced than later ones? Shouldn't skill improve over time? 2. How did they cut granite with tools softer than the stone itself? 3. Why do the internal shafts align perfectly with Orion and Sirius? 4. Why is the base so perfectly level? Not even modern construction sites achieve this naturally. 5. Why is the Great Pyramid aligned to true north with near-perfect accuracy? 6. Why were some blocks fitted so tightly you can't slip a credit card between them? These are not small inconsistencies, these are engineering anomalies. But textbooks avoid them because they challenge the timeline. They challenge what we think we know about human development. And they raise a bigger possibility. Humanity may have lost advanced knowledge before. Civilizations rise, fall, collapse, and forget. The Great Pyramid is not just a tomb. It is a message from a past far more intelligent than we imagined. Which brings us to the final mystery. What was the Great Pyramid actually for? The final reveal. What the pyramid really was. It wasn't a tomb. So what was it? Inside the Great Pyramid, there is something missing. A body. No inscriptions, no treasures. A tomb without a body is not a tomb. So what was it? Several theories exist. 1. A giant astronomical observatory. The internal shafts align with significant stars. 2. A massive energy-focusing structure. The pyramid sits on geological fault lines. Some researchers believe it used Earth's vibrations. 3. A symbolic reconstruction of the world. The chambers represent different realms. The proportions match Earth's geometry. 4. A memorial to ancient knowledge. A blueprint left to future generations. But the most convincing theory is this. The Great Pyramid was a multifunctional monument built by a highly advanced society, a society that combined astronomy, geometry, engineering, and spiritual belief. Its purpose may have been ceremonial, astronomical, symbolic, scientific, political, or all of the above. What is certain is that it was not simple, And it was not constructed by trial and error. It was the product of genius. Maybe history didn't lie. Maybe we forgot. The Great Pyramid is more than stone. It is a monument to intelligence. Not alien intelligence, but human intelligence, human ingenuity, human genius. But not the simple story we were told. It wasn't slaves. It wasn't crude tools. It wasn't guesswork. It was a sophisticated, organized, brilliant civilization, possibly aided by knowledge even older than Egypt itself. The Great Pyramid is the greatest reminder that history is not a straight line. Civilizations rise and fall and rise again. And sometimes the greatest knowledge is not found in books, but carved in stone by people whose names we'll never know and whose genius we are only beginning to understand. Because the Great Pyramid is not just a relic. It is a message from a lost world that whispers, "You were not the first to understand the universe." And now, 4,500 years later, we're finally beginning to listen.